Empathy, putting oneself in the shoes of others. We are connected to our inner self, but also to the outer world, and empathy plays an important role in both connections. Empathy is being able to put yourself in the shoes of others, and understand other people's feelings. With all the advances in technology, the external world we interact with is getting bigger every day. As the world gets bigger and we get more ways to communicate, but with less information, it becomes harder for empathy to come through. For example, think about how complicated it can be to be empathetic when communicating in a text message, or how easy it can be to show empathy for someone you talk to face to face. What is empathy? What does it mean to put oneself in the shoes of others? We can define empathy as the ability to understand the emotional and cognitive thoughts and ideas, state of other people or ourselves. And this understanding comes as a result of putting oneself in the shoes of others. It is not a simple thing to do. To really do that, we have to set aside the stereotypes that are ingrained in our minds. Besides this, it is difficult because the other person's world, and even our own, is so complicated. It requires a lot of dedication. The truth is that there are people and circumstances that are easier to empathize with. For example, it will be easier for us to show empathy towards people who are similar to us or if they ask for our help. In the former case, it is easier to put oneself in the place of others, because they are not so different from oneself. In the latter case, it is because we are motivated to empathize if we feel that their cry for help is sincere. The enemies of empathy. People are partly a product of the situations we live through. Right from the day we are born to the day we die, indifference to others has many different reasons, such as narcissism, mistrust, lack of values, putting oneself first at all costs, racial, educational and socio-economic differences. A lack of empathy wears us down. It keeps us from getting warm hugs, selfless gifts and friendly smiles. A handout to us without an expectation of getting anything in return. If only the fittest survive, it prevents us from understanding the needs of others. Whether it is our partner, family member, neighbor, colleague or friend. Every single day, psychologists see 1,000 cases that could be improved by simple, active listening, empathy. My freedom ends where everyone else's begins. What can empathy do for us and everyone around us? Let's try to answer this question by going through a few different situations. Our relationship will work better if we put ourselves in other people's shoes once in a while. In this way, we can better understand the other person's need for care and where their feelings come from. Accepting the effects of past experiences, positive as well as negative, will help the relationship thrive, and not just survive. Let's say an employee sees an area where the business needs to be improved, and her boss gives her what she needs to do it. The employee-manager relationship will be in harmony. Being empathetic makes us more aware and respectful of others' boundaries. With empathy, for example, we can understand how frustrated parents of children with autism can feel when they cannot communicate with them. And why should we show empathy towards ourselves? Exploring our strengths and weaknesses honestly will remind us of who we are. At the same time, it will be easier for us to separate our identity from that of others. Empathy and children. A teacher will see her influence grow if she shows empathy towards her students. Empathy, for example, will allow her to see that the violent little boy is simply copying the behavior he sees at home. Being able to understand the shyness, hyperactivity, extroversion and sadness of her students will make her job easier and more valuable. A teacher without empathy will not be able to effectively solve problems in the classroom. If parents could remember when they themselves were children or teenagers, they would have more understanding. Then the gap between the generations would not be so great. At the end of the day, being a parent doesn't mean erasing all memories of the past. Cultivating empathy in children and teenagers, appealing to their feelings, is a great way to prevent unwanted behavior. For example, it can be bullying or not doing anything about it. The Kiva method from Finland targets those who witness bullying by inspiring empathy for the victim. As we've seen, putting yourself in someone else's shoes can improve relationships, strengthen bonds, and bring hearts together. It is also very useful in preventing an all too common modern affliction, emptiness and loneliness.